in the ancient world, where superstition and fear ruled the hearts of men, there was a small, isolated village nestled deep within a dark and foreboding forest. The villagers lived in constant dread of the shadows that lurked beyond the tree line, for they believed that the woods were home to malevolent spirits and ancient evils. Among them lived a little girl named Lira, a child of no more than 10 years, with wide, innocent eyes and a heart full of curiosity. But Lira was no ordinary child. She was an outcast, born under a blood-red moon, a sign the villagers believed marked her as cursed. Lyra's parents had died when she was young, leaving her in the care of a cruel aunt who blamed her for every misfortune that befell their family. The other children shunned her, and the adults whispered behind her back, calling her a devil's child. Lonely and desperate for acceptance, Lira often wandered into the forest, where she felt a strange sense of belonging. The trees seemed to whisper her, and the wind carried voices that called her name. One fateful evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the forest was bathed in an eerie twilight, Lira ventured deeper into the woods than she ever had before. The air grew colder, and the shadows seemed to stretch and twist around her. She stumbled upon a clearing where the ground was blackened and lifeless, and in the center stood a gnarled tree with a hollow trunk from within the hollow. A pair of glowing red eyes stared back at her, terrified but unable to look away. Lira heard a voice, a deep, resonant voice that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. "Little girl," it said, "why do you wander alone in this cursed place?" Lira, trembling, replied, "I have no one. The villagers hate me. They say I am cursed." The voice chuckled, a sound that sent shivers down her spine. "Cursed are you? Perhaps they are right, but I can give you power, little one. Power to make them fear you, to make them bow before you. All you need to do is make a pact with me." Lyra's heart raced. She had never felt so alone, so desperate. "What kind of pact?" she asked. Her voice barely whispered. The voice grew darker, more menacing. "Give me your soul, and I will grant you the power to command the shadows, to bend the will of others, to exact revenge on those who have wronged you. But know this, once the pact is made, there is no turning back. You will belong to me now and forever." Lira hesitated, but the thought of making the villagers pay for their cruelty was too tempting. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I accept." The ground beneath her feet trembled, and the air filled with the scent of sulfur. The red eyes glowed brighter, and a searing pain shot through Lyra's chest as a dark mark like a twisted sigil burned itself into her skin. She screamed, but the voice only laughed. "The pact is sealed. Go forth, little one, and wield your new power." When Lira returned to the village, she was no longer the same. Her eyes, once innocent, now glowed with an unnatural light, and the shadows seemed to cling to her like a second skin. At first, the villagers were too frightened to approach her, but when crops began to wither and livestock died mysteriously, they turned their fear into anger. They accused Lira of bringing a curse upon them and demanded she be punished. But Lira was no longer defenseless with a mere thought. She summoned the shadows to her aid, twisting them into monstrous shapes that attacked the villagers. She laughed as they screamed and fled, their fear feeding her newfound power. The village descended into chaos, with fires breaking out and people turning on each other in their desperation. As the days passed, Lyra's power grew, but so did the darkness within her. The voice of the devil whispered in her mind, urging her to greater acts of cruelty. She began to lose herself, her humanity slipping away as the shadows consumed her. The once innocent girl became a harbinger of death, her name spoken only in terrified whispers. But the devil's pact came with a price. Each time Lyra used her power, A piece of her soul was chipped away, and the mark on her chest grew darker, spreading like a cancer. She began to see visions of the devil's realm, a place of endless torment where she would spend eternity once her soul was. Fully claimed, desperate to escape her fate, Lira sought out a wise woman who lived on the outskirts of the forest. The wise woman, ancient and blind, listened to Lira's tale with a heavy heart. "Child," she said, "you have made a grave mistake. The devil's pact cannot be broken, but there is one way to delay your fate. You must find the tree of life hidden deep within the forest. Its fruit can restore a piece of your soul. But the journey is perilous, and the tree is guarded by the devil's most fearsome servants." Determined to save herself, Lira ventured back into the forest, facing horrors beyond imagination. She battled shadowy beasts, navigated treacherous terrain, and resisted the devil's constant temptations to give in to her darkest desires. At last she found the tree of life, its branches heavy with golden fruit. But as she reached for fruit, the devil himself appeared, his form a towering figure of smoke and flame. "You cannot escape me, Lira," he roared. "You are mine." Summoning all her strength, Lira plucked the fruit and bit into it. A surge of light filled her, pushing back the darkness. The devil howled in rage, but the light was not enough to fully break the pact. Lira knew she would have to continue her struggle, fighting to reclaim her soul piece by piece for the rest of her days. And so, Lira became a wanderer, forever hunted by the devil and his minions. Her story, a cautionary tale of the dangers of making pacts with dark forces. The villagers, what few remained, spoke of her in hushed tones, warning their children never to stray too far into the forest, lest they meet the girl who made a deal with the devil and paid the ultimate price. In the ancient world, where the line between myth and reality was thin, Lira's story served as a grim reminder that some bargains are too terrible to make, and some consequences too horrifying to bear.